Guerrilla Games delivered one of the best open-world games of the recent generation with Horizon Zero Dawn, which thrust players into a rather unique world with contrasting elements of the past and future. Despite having minimal experience of working with open worlds, Guerrilla was able to create not only a world that was gorgeous to look at, but also functional with plenty of sightseeing and activities available for players to indulge in. Originally released in 2017, it has been over 7 years since the game came out, but it still holds up surprisingly well to this date. As such, the thought of a remastered version might sound like a cheap attempt at grabbing some quick cash from gullible consumers, but Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered is a lot more than its initial preconception. With this technical analysis, we will be taking a look at both versions of the game to try and understand exactly what has changed. Introduction. Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered is essentially an attempt to bring the original up to spec with the visual splendor of the sequel Forbidden West, and the brains behind this operation are Nixxes Software. The team has solid experience of working on PlayStation ports and remasters, and the fact that the transition is happening across the same engine makes compatibility a whole lot easier. Fans might remember that Horizon Forbidden West was also a cross-gen game, so the engine was already built to be scalable across both generation machines, which would probably have helped the developer's cause by a significant margin. Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered brings both iterative changes and radical overhauls to the image quality, which we will be discussing in detail in further sections.
I can do nothing. It's only a matter of time before the machines find that boy and kick him to death. But if I shoot, it'll cause a stampede, and it will trample him.
But I can see the paths they take.
Stop telling stories.
I'm not. I can sneak through.
You will not.
Character models. The original Horizon Zero Dawn had some pretty good looking character models for its time, complete with a high polygon count and brimming with detail. Physically based materials had been used for clothing, and hair physics were pretty rudimentary, but they were definitely an integral part of the presentation itself. Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered doesn't rewrite the story, but it does bring several improvements over the original in key areas. Character models look much sharper with an even higher poly count budget, and skin meshes look a lot more detailed and realistic than before. These changes aren't really visible during exploration, but when the camera juts in close during cinematics, you can easily see the differences. And in a similar vein, one can also notice a bump in the quality of cloth materials, which exude more detail than ever before. Having that bump in material quality also gives the machines a fresh new look. Machines have more complex geometry, and it's markedly easier to make out the individual parts that coalesce to create these Goliaths of destruction. Having these higher quality materials also helps with enhancing reflections on their bodies, which gives a more premium look to the machines this time around. Moving on to the hair physics, they are quite a bit more sophisticated than before, and Aloy's hair will appropriately sway to the tune of the winds and fly around as she waltzes through these environments. Hair textures are also finer this time around and reflect light in a much more accurate fashion.
If you hadn't destroyed the Sawtooth, how many Braves might it have killed or injured tomorrow? The lesson lives within the question, Aloy. For years, you've trained to win the proving, but only for yourself. As a Brave, it will be your duty to fight for your tribe.
My tribe? You said I wouldn't need them.
But I never said the tribe wouldn't need you.
What's changed in the world? Switching gears over to the world, Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered brings plenty of changes that longtime fans will appreciate. Starting things with the textures, Nixxes has updated texture quality across the entire board of assets, no matter how big or small. Of course, these changes might not be instantly visible on a macro level, but if you stop and stare at the finer details, it all starts to really make sense here. Different kinds of plants and ferns now flaunt finer details than before, and it is almost on par with what Horizon Forbidden West offers. Another noticeable change occurs in how dense bushes of plants react to Aloy's movements. Notice how blades of grass and edges of leaves can awkwardly cut through the character model, while in the remaster, Aloy gracefully swerves without much of this clipping issue. Another change in the environment is with regards to how clouds function. In the original, we had fairly static meshes that served the purpose, but didn't really stand out in terms of the quality itself. Forbidden West brought significant improvements with the Nubis system, delivering realistic cloud volumes that stand tall as some of the best in its class. That very Nubis system has been brought into the remastered version, and the results are definitely noticeable for one. Clouds look more realistic than before, with denser meshes and realistic movements that help elevate the look of the environment in the remaster. Now, moving over to the lighting, Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered has updated the lighting system, which results in a lot more accurate reflections this time around. The original majorly relied on pre-calculated lighting for different times of day, and while the implementation hasn't changed, the extra processing power has been utilized for better and more accurate results this time around. The settlements provide a great point of comparison for this change. Just notice how areas that should have been under the shadow are corrected this time around, while the original had a lot of lighting data mistakes stemming from the rudimentary calculations. These improvements also extend to the shadows department, where we get to see a more robust implementation this time around. Shadows are cast by a lot more light sources and are cast at further distance than before, so characters and enemies blend in well with the surrounding environment rather than awkwardly jutting out from the ground as seen in the original, giving the world a more uniform look this time around. Now, one should also check out the changes in the reflections departments. The original used a cube map implementation, which worked for its time, but suffered from poor accuracy and low resolution artifacts. But the remastered version changes that up to the screen space reflections that are used in Forbidden West. What once seemed like muddy reflections have now been replaced by fairly accurate high-resolution reflections, which also update with the change in player perspective. This is most notable in the water reflections, and on that topic, also notice how the water textures and meshes have been updated with the remaster. Caustics both look and behave a lot more realistic than before, and water looks quite a bit better as a result. Then there's the world streaming. Despite having a lot of micro-level detail, the Decima engine didn't really compromise much when it came to streaming all of these assets without showing signs of artifacting. Clever use of distant fog volumes and blocking geometry like huge mountains help to ensure a smooth world streaming solution, and it works just as well as the original, with little to no difference between the two versions. Finally, there's the post-processing pipeline. Light shafts look a lot better than before, and beams of light emanating from machines and surroundings have better bloom effects. Other elements of the presentation, such as anisotropic filtering, depth of field, and motion blur, have also seen incremental upgrades, though not as pronounced as the previously discussed changes. Performance. Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered on PC offers a plethora of graphical options to choose from, ranging from texture quality to clouds quality and FOV sliders and much more. It's a robust experience this time around, largely owing to the increased maturity of the team after handling so many projects of this ilk. Apart from the buffet of options that fans can choose from, Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered also does away with the shader compilation issue that plagued the original PC release. Now, we tested the game on a PC, consisting of AMD Ryzen 9 5950X, NVIDIA RTX 3080 Ti, 32GB of RAM, and a PCI 3 4.0 SSD, which is well over what the game recommends. We set the resolution to 4K with DLSS 3.0 turned on and maxed out the game. Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered performed fairly well during our tests, constantly hovering between 60 FPS and 70 FPS with little to no major drops.
I hope so.
Loading times have also been improved in the remastered version, with fast travel and loading from a fresh save being faster this time around. While it definitely helps that we are loading off of a PCIe 4.0 SSD, it's also possible that Nixxes might be using Windows Direct Storage options to help speed up the process even further. Conclusion. In conclusion, Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered is a great attempt to breathe new life into one of the biggest games of the recent generation. It sits very comfortably between a by-the-numbers remaster and a fully fledged remake, and it makes for a great way to experience this classic in a new light.
But the cord is strong.
May All Mother bless you, Aloy.
And you.
So, what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.